TIAA Bank. The Publix Tailgate Show starts right now.
Good morning. November is when the league starts to sort itself out. That is when the good teams rise and the pretenders, well, they begin to fall. Here's the reality, folks. October wasn't good to the Jaguars, and the Jaguars in the month of October were not good to the Jaguars. Way too many mistakes, way too many turnovers, and they blew the opportunity for themselves to thrust themselves into the race. Now they're on the outside trying to find out whether or not 2022 will be a year in which they make some noise or if they're looking to the future, and that's not what anyone really wants. Good morning and welcome to the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey here for hour number one. Before we bring Mike in, I do want to take a moment and offer a tribute to Judy Coughlin, who was one of the first ladies of this organization. And in the early days, Judy and Tom were the connection between this team and its new home. And Judy was a warm, loving person. And if you had the chance to get to know her at all, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She knew everyone's name. She would come through the building and she was quick with a smile. And if someone felt like they needed a hug, she was here in the early days as things were starting to take shape. And when she left with Tom to go to New York, she built her forever home here because this was the city and this was the place that she loved so much. And she visited it frequently. She had a large hand in the development with Tom and Kelly of the J Fund and all the good work that the J Fund did for families with children with childhood cancer. So as she passed this last week and we say goodbye to her this week, I'd like to just let it be known that there are a lot of people who feel themselves richer for having known Judy Coughlin and for her time in our lives, and wish our best to the Coughlin family. And with that, we move on to the Jaguars and Raiders. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Brian. Very well said. I did not know Judy Coughlin nearly as well as you did, but everything I understand about her, I think everyone echoes your sentiments.
Yeah. Well, I just don't think you want to. Time is so fleeting, and there are people who had a big hand in this franchise in the early days, and Judy had a large one, and so we send our condolences again, and we look at a day with the Raiders in town and another opportunity, Mike. You know, there was a stretch of games that seemed that might move the Jaguars into contention, and it hasn't worked out that way. They have lost in the fourth quarter. They have blown second half leads. People asked me this week, "What do you think? Is this the week?" My honest answer is, well, I thought last week was the week, and the week before that, and so it's a tough team to explain to folks right now.
Well, it is. They're what they've been, Brian. They're a team that can't win a close game or hasn't won a close game to this point. I mean, can they? I think they're capable of doing it. They just haven't done it yet. But they're 0-6 in those one-score games, and they've won two very impressively. But that's been a long time ago now, a month and a half. So, look, from everything I understand, this Jag team still thinks they can make a run in the AFC South. You look at the way the division is set up this week, right? We know the Colts have moved on to Sam Ehlinger. The Titans are taking on Kansas City tonight. The Jags have a chance with a win to pick up a game on everyone in the division potentially, but we've been feeling that way for weeks and weeks and weeks. Will they do it today? I don't know.
All right. Well, we're about to find out. Here are the big stories of the week. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence threw those 2 interceptions a week ago, and he knows that he's got to be better. He sees a team today that has its back against the wall, playing a team with its back against the wall.
You look at the league right now and where everybody's at, there's a lot of people in kind of in this similar like middle of the pack feel where this is kind of the time to separate. And November is obviously a huge month, November and December, to set yourself up for the postseason. So, you know, the way we're looking at it, there's still everything in front of us, but it's time to really turn it on, and we got to go on a run here to put ourselves in position. And they're one of those teams in the same position. So both of us were playing for a lot, and I'm sure you're gonna see that Sunday.
Brian, you got to do, if you're the Jaguars, what the NFL always tells you, that this week is the most important game because it's the only one you play. I don't want to hear about we can get on a run. Win today. can't even think about a run until you win a single game. So can they do it? Are they capable of beating some of the teams coming up? I think they're capable of doing it. Whether they will or not to be determined, but you've got to focus on the micro level and just one game at a time. I know that's as cliche as it gets, but that's all they can really do to help themselves and get that feeling back.
You know, the night before the Texans game, so a month ago, I made a comment to Jeff Lageman at the Tony Baselli documentary gala. I think this is the start of a run of some wins for this team. I was projecting, right? We all know how that one goes. And he made a very astute comment. He said they haven't shown they can win the winnable games. Today is a winnable game. Today would be an opportunity. I would think you might agree for them to show that.
Oh, there's no question it's an opportunity, but they've had a bunch of those this year, right? And in the ones that were in the balance, they've yet to come up on the good end of it. Today could get it started. I mean, the Raiders got shut out last week, but we understand the NFL is a funny league. Week to week, teams play completely differently sometimes.
All right, last week, cornerback Tyson Campbell continued his stretch of impressive play, holding Cortland Sutton, the big receiver for the Broncos, to one catch for only 13 yards. Today, he's going to see Davante Adams, and I asked him if he was up for the bigger challenge this week.
You never play a perfect game, so look at the mistakes you made, find the small corrections you can make, and not try to make them again the next week. That'll up your play in the next game, and possibly contribute and help your team win. So that's all I'm trying to focus on. Find the little things that can set me, above the bar to, put my team in a winning situation. So that's the type of thing I do.
Look, Cortland Sutton's a good player. He's not on Davante Adams' level.
No.
I cannot wait for this matchup today, really, because Tyson Campbell, I think low-key, and I say low-key because you're on a 2-6 team that hasn't won much since he got here, is becoming one of the better one-on-one cover guys in the league. And last week you saw they basically said, take Cortland Sutton out of the game, and he did. Tougher challenge to do that against Adams, but I'd love to see him try it. I want to see him in single coverage or at least heads up on Adams with safety help over the top as much as possible today. Sometimes you double the number one guy. I'd love for Tyson Campbell to get that shot.
I love Campbell's quiet confidence, right? He's not beating his chest. He's not talking about how good he is. He's just talking about preparing. He's not scared to go out on the field. Not that professional football players are, but there is a sense that this team is tight right now and that they are playing more in the not wanting to lose than they are in the let's go out and get a win. So I asked Christian Kirk, who was the big free agent signing and a guy who's been on some good teams in Arizona, about this team's mentality.
Especially in the situation that we're at, you can't play to not lose a football game. I think that's the important thing. We can't play to not lose. We can't coach to not lose. Everything we can't do that because it'll end up happening. So you just got to go out there. You got to play loose. There's nothing to lose, and you got to be at your best. And when you play free and you have fun, and at the end of the day, we're playing football, playing the same game we've been playing since we were 5-6 years old. So have fun, enjoy it. You have 9 opportunities left, because your football career goes by fast. So just staying in the moment, loving on the guys around yourself, and just going out there and letting it loose.
Look, there have been occasions when this team has come back and taken the lead in the fourth quarter. They've gotten some big defensive stops. Now they've also failed in the most obvious situations,
right.
Final moments offensively, taking the lead, and then the defense gives the lead right back. But I don't sense it's because of nervousness or anything like that. I feel like they played loose enough, Brian, but you get to a point where you continue to lose in a different fashion in the fourth quarter every week, and that's what it feels like right now. I think it's human nature to start looking around and go, okay, we got 8 minutes left. What's going to happen this week?
Well, don't you think, and we were talking about it last week, here's Russell Wilson with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left to play, and you're wondering, is this the week that they can hold it off?
Right. And especially against a team that was struggling so badly offensively coming into the week last week. Keep in mind, this is a team in the Raiders that didn't score a point, but they also put 32 up on that Denver defense, which was among the best in the league.
And they had Kansas City in that Sunday night game, or it was a Monday night game, rather, where they had them up against the wall. They couldn't hold on. So you're getting a talented team. And by the way, the Raiders have been in Sarasota all week, and the word is that last week, preparing for New Orleans, they had a lot of guys who were sick and couldn't practice. So we'll find out just how their week went this week. All right, final thought, again, going back to the locker room, as Mike and I were just discussing, the energy level of this team is important. Evan Ingram is a guy who has his thumb on this. He's very astute when it comes to getting a feel for his teammates.
It's more the energy that I feel and more than what I see. Like, I've been in situations like this 5 in a row, really tough losses, and like people check out, energy lost, just everybody kind of starts fending for themselves and kind of getting through more than attacking each day, trying to figure it out. The energy in here is not that at all. Like, I'm not worried. Like, nobody in here is worried. Nobody in here is panicking. Nobody in here is quitting. That's more what I feel. It's more about what I feel than I see.
Look, I think that's great, and I don't disagree. I have no reason to believe otherwise, Brian. But again, you reach a certain point where mathematically you look up and you go, man, we have to win every remaining game to even have any kind of a chance. The Jags are pushing up against that break pretty soon here. Yep. So,
they are there.
Time's a wasting.
I feel like we need some energy in this room. Right?
Oh, do we?
And now,
yes.
now is the time. We'll have more sound, by the way, more from the players, more from the coaches coming up over the next couple of hours and into hour number 2. But now it's time for that energy that our teammate E.T. brings every week with Come On Somebody.
Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody! What's happening in Jacksonville? And let me not forget to welcome y'all to November. I would also like to welcome y'all to another edition of Come On Somebody. Something like nothing special, a little razzle-dazzle. Now, we just came from across the pond and added another tally in the L column. But guess what? They don't call me Lithium, Pac, Mac, and Same Energy E for nothing, so I'm going to keep this same energy. I know one thing, winning changes everything. And I also know this, control what you can control. That's what my mama always told me. So I'm going to control these here phone lines. Y'all know how the game go. Come on, somebody.
Today's keys to victory. Travis needs to be ETN.
I see what you did there.
He's going to get 167 with 2 tutties.
Big boy numbers.
Defense, tackle somebody, please.
Come on, somebody.
And the last one, just don't make a boneheaded play. Be safe with the ball. And Duval!
Come on, somebody.
What's happening, Jag Nation? Hey, listen, Jacksonville will win on Sunday.
Oh, yeah? What's your prediction?
27-24. We finna smash Oakland. Come on, somebody.
Come on.
Duval!
So, Dean, I think Travis Etienne is going to step it up again and have a big game against the Raiders. And Jags are going to get another win, get off the schneid. Duval!
Hey, Dean, I need you to meet me in the Bud Zone, please. And make sure you bring your chest with you.
PT, who's baby?
Who, baby, checking in? What's up?
/ Merlin.
Oh, my bad. Merlin?
A magic crystal ball says no turnovers in the red zone and a win this week. Come on, somebody.
Come on, somebody.
Duval.
EG.
Yeah.
Man, it's a hard knock life for a Jag fan.
Ain't it, though?
But
oh, how I like butts. And I cannot lie.
We can't just keep putting our heads down and put our head between our legs and just give up.
Who's doing that? Not butt-loving, same energy E.
We got to bring this energy, baby.
Let's go then. Duval! Come on, let's go.
Come on, somebody. Let's get up. Let's go beat somebody for once in our lives, Jag.
Hold on. What you mean for once in our lives?
Come on now.
Hey, the Jags going to send them boys back to Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Oakland, wherever they're from, with that L. Come on, somebody. Duval.
Duval. Yo, we finna get this win together, baby. We finna bear the Raider Nation, baby. Jaguars, we finna get this thing together. This finna be our first win in a minute, baby. We finna get the first win in a minute, baby.
All right.
Cap Willie, boy, he gonna be a Pro Bowl first year. Pro Bowl first year. First year in the day, he gonna be the Pro Bowl first year. We gonna win this game. We gonna win this game.
Bro.
It might be close, but we gonna win it. We gonna win it. We gonna win it.
Who?
Duval.
Duval.
Remember this win. Get Van T's on the line, baby. Get it together, baby.
Bruh,
get it together, baby. We're going to get it together right now. Our defense, interceptions, touchdowns, all we're going to get. We're going to be saying Duval all day long, baby. Let's go. Duval. Come on, somebody.
Come on, somebody.
You know it.
Well, that's all I got for y'all this week, man. Y'all already know. Meet me in the Bud Zone. Come on, somebody.
With every loss, he has gotten better. He has
that was the
risen
best
to the
one of the
occasion.
season, I thought.
100%.
I know you say this is your favorite segment.
It is.
I have it on good authority. It's also ET's favorite segment of the pregame show. And I've heard same energy E, and I know he's listening right now.
Yeah, I love it.
Lithium Pack Mac is one I'm going to have to investigate this week. I'm not sure. I'm a little bit at a loss on that one.
He leaves you at a loss. You know why? Because you come back next week expecting some more. Bring it with your chest.
And you always get it.
All right. We'll take a break. But first, and I guess you're not hearing the Andre Cisco tease. Not sure why that is. That's Andre Cisco, who is this week's Baptist Health Player Interview. Plus, CBS Sports Writer, senior writer Pete Prisco. The Jaguars and Raiders are less than 3 hours away. You're enjoying the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
What makes that famous call?
Dinner's ready!
Even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop.
Anyone want seconds?
When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
And the Publix Tailgate Show continues here from TIAA Bank Field. Brian Sexton with Mike Dempsey as we get you ready for the Jaguars and Raiders coming up at 1 o'clock. We are watching the injury report with an astute eye today. We're waiting to find out about Darren Waller, in particular, the outstanding tight end for the Oakland Raiders, and that will come up in about an hour and 11 minutes. That's a big one. I mean, not just literally, but figuratively as well. That guy makes a lot of plays happen.
We've seen him have 15 catch games. He's got potential to take over football games. He's very sporadic in when he does dominate, but he has that capability. And I think most people, Brian, all week long have felt like it was kind of iffy for him to play. The reporting early this morning is, I would say, doubtful for him to suit up, but we'll find out just over an hour from now.
It would be a big lift for this Jaguars defense if they don't have to worry about Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Waller roaming the middle. We'll find out. All right, let's find out from Pete Prisco.
Well, we talked with Pete this week, as we always do, and we'll get to this week's game. But really, one of the big storylines this week was the trade that the Jaguars made that's not going to impact the 2022 team. So I wanted to get Pete's opinion on the Jags acquiring the rights to Calvin Ridley.
2 years ago, he was, basically a number one receiver. And he had over 90 catches. He averaged over 15 yards per catch, and he had 9 touchdowns. So if you can get a player like that to come in there, and he's young enough that he'll add to that offense and give him another weapon, I think it was a smart move. It was surprising, but a smart move. And having talked to that kid in the past, he's a good kid, too. I mean, he probably got caught up in something he shouldn't have done, but he's not a bad kid. So I think it's a good move for Jacksonville.
Yeah, and we won't see any dividends for that at least until next year, and hopefully it'll pay off wonderfully for them. But Pete, for the remaining 9 games, they didn't make any additions or subtractions for that matter. How do you think they see themselves at 2-6 heading into the second half of the year?
Disappointed, because I think they should probably have a better record, but I think they should also be encouraged by a lot of the things they're seeing. And so I get it. When you're 2-6, you look at the record, you are what you are, but did anybody really, the fast start, did anybody really think they were going to be a playoff team this year anyway? So they got to be encouraged by a lot of the things that they've seen, but they also have to be discouraged by some of the things that they've seen as well.
Trevor Lawrence spoke this week about, guys are frustrated, but they're not frustrated with each other. They're frustrated that collectively as a team, they haven't made the plays at the right moments. Do you think that is in danger of boiling over if they have continued losses, even if they're close ones like they've been so far?
No, I think they're too young for that.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes when you get a veteran team, you see some of that boil over and guys starting to point fingers and everything else. But I think this group is too young for that. They just have to learn how to win. I mean, they've had chances in every one of those games, and they just don't know how to win games in the key moments. So for whatever reason, things go wrong, whether it's a penalty or a bad decision to go for it on 4th down or a terrible interception near the goal line. I mean, if something has gone wrong, and at some point, you have to learn from those and learn how to win those games.
We talked a little bit this week on my local show about guys we're confident in that will play well in the remaining 9 games. We're basically at the halfway point of the season, Pete. Give me a guy offensively and defensively, one on each side, that you think is ascending right now for this Jaguar team.
Well, I think, on the offensive side, it certainly has to be Travis Etienne. I mean, he's proven to people that he could be the lead back, and not only that, he can carry the ball between the tackles, and there was some uncertainty of whether he could do that. So I think he's got to be first and foremost on the offensive side of the ball. And on the defensive side of the ball, look, I think when you look at Tyson Campbell, he's been a constant on that defense, and I think he's going to be a constant for a long time on that defense. So I think those are the two, when you look at it, those are the 2 guys I would single out.
I look at Christian Kirk and where he stands right now, and everyone likes to focus on the size of the contract, but he's basically on pace for 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns this year. If he hits those milestones, Pete, is that a successful first season in Jacksonville?
Absolutely. Look, you signed him to be the guy this year, and whether he's the guy this year. So let him put those numbers up, and then don't worry about the contract, because he's been a productive player and he's a good receiver. And there are moments, I think, where he should have even better numbers. He's been missed on a bunch of plays. So I don't think there's any disappointment whatsoever in Christian Kirk. Throw the contract out. Sometimes you got to overpay to go get a guy. Mm-hmm. They probably did, but they got him.
All right, well, they've got the Las Vegas Raiders obviously coming in here, kicking off in less than 3 hours, Pete. And this is very Jekyll and Hyde team. We talked last week about how good that Denver defense is. This is a team that put up 32 on the Denver defense, and then last week got shut out entirely. Who are the Raiders that the Jags are going to face today?
Well, I tell you what, after watching the tape from that game last week in New Orleans, they were awful on offense. I mean, awful. They couldn't protect at all. It looked like at times in that game that the Saints had 12 guys on the field for a lot of the game. They were in the backfield. They sacked them 4 times. They got after the quarterback. They could do nothing right. They couldn't run the ball. And so this is a chance for the Jacksonville defense to show that they have to be able to start playing better in key moments. You can't let teams get the ball late in games and go down and win them. You got to get a sack. You got to get a turnover. You got to get the game over. And I think this is where it starts, and this is a great opportunity for them to do that.
All right, will they do that, Pete?
I think they will. Again, back-to-back road games is always tough in the NFL. I don't think the Raiders are that good. The offensive line is a major problem. And if Jacksonville doesn't win this game, and if the quarterback Trevor Lawrence doesn't play better, I think you got to start really worrying about the whole process right now. But I think they will, and I think he will. So I think Jacksonville will win the game.
Brian, you made the point the Raiders were just beset by the flu bug last week. I mean, it really ripped right through the entire roster. Prior to that game, since week one, they hadn't failed to score 22 points in any game. So that offense, and just the week before, had put up 38.
Right.
So they're definitely a dangerous offense, not last week notwithstanding.
We're going to talk about the defense. I'm about to introduce you to the Andre Cisco interview this week, and we're going to talk about how you deal with the talent they've got on offense. But really, the best defense today is the offense. Trevor has got to have a big day. Travis has got to have a big day. You've got to put points up if you expect to beat the Las Vegas Raiders, and you can throw out last week. Remember, when the Jaguars went and played the Colts the second time around, they had a big day.
Completely different story,
and that's the story today. The Jaguars' offense can be the best defense, but that's not what the guys on defense are saying, which brings us to Andre Cisco, who is this week's Baptist Health player interview. He knows what's in front of them with Devontae Adams and tight end Darren Waller and running back Josh Jacobs, and he knows that last week was last week and has to stay in last week. This week is about being prepared for the Raiders, who can explode if you let them, and as you can imagine, he doesn't want to let them.
You got to know how they're trying to get them the ball, how frequently and what the different types of ways. So we got to stay on top of it and, be the deepest in the back end.
How do you play a guy like Waller who's so tall and so long? How do you prepare for those physical attributes?
You got to do your best to know his route tree, get a feel for formations and anything else on the field that can help you out to give you an advantage in that matchup.
You're a young guy, but you're in a position where you've got to be the quarterback of the defense. How's that transition for you this year?
It's been good. It's a big responsibility, and I've been on top of it. I got guys like Ray Sean that have experience helping me out, and then other guys in the back end, and guys like Foye, all around just being a good support system, so I don't have too much pressure.
We've seen some really big moments from this defense, and some moments you guys would like to have back. How do you find a way to play consistently, play in and play out on that side of the ball?
It's a want-to. It's you really can't have any moments of lack of unfocus and within those games so that you can have those big performances that we had and just making consistent.
You get a Raiders team that is coming off a game in which they didn't score last week. You had that a couple of weeks ago with Indianapolis. What do you see from a team that the week before had an embarrassing performance, and how do you prepare for that?
It's a week-to-week league, so it's hard to go based off their last performance. You take note of it, and you could use it to go based off what you're going to do for them. But at the same time, like I said, it's a week-to-week league.
Turnovers are such a big part of how a defense gets going. Turnovers are a big part of your game at Syracuse. It's why you were a third-round pick. Tell me how you see that ball, and when does this team get back on that roll with interceptions and takeaways?
It's a team effort. It's all 11 on the field, doing the right thing at the right time, and then just putting that pressure on the quarterback to continue making those mistakes throughout the game. That's when they continue to add up again. So like I said, it's the consistency we talked about, and that's how you continue to make those plays.
And I have to say, all this talk that we've just had about the passing game, and if you don't stop Josh Jacobs this week, you're not gonna see many passes. From a safety perspective, what's your view of Josh Jacobs and stopping him?
Don't let him get going too much. Get downhill and try to get the train stopped as fast as you can. So he's a load coming downhill. He does a good job in the open field, and he gets through the tackle as well. So he has a wide range of skills as a running back, and he's definitely been one of the best in the league this year.
A lot of energy around you in this locker room. Guys haven't lost their edge. It would seem like it's tight. Do you feel like these? And I don't mean tight in the sense of tight. I mean a tight group of guys. Do you get the sense that you're close?
Yeah, unbelievably close. I mean, and it gives you it makes work not as hard and not as stressful, and you don't have to just think about all the things that we fell short doing so far. It's like a lot of guys have a positive outlook towards the rest of the year, very optimistic, and like you said, tight-knit group of guys, so it gives you a big advantage.
Andre Cisco made a couple of big plays early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
The most notable is pick 6 in Philly. And you can forget when he's playing well that this is his first season as a starter, and he hasn't even started 10 games. And then you see him like last week, right, where he's in situations where he's not making plays, and then you remember He's one of these young guys. They need him to get to speed quickly if they're going to be able to play the level of defense they want to play.
Well, you talked about his playmaking ability making him a third-round pick. What really happened was his ACL tear maybe knocked him out of being a late first-round pick. That's how highly he was regarded for that playmaking
13 takeaways in his time at Syracuse.
So that is not something that is, foreign to have put on him, that expectation. 2 interceptions early in the season. Since then, only 2 pass breakups. He's got to get his hands on the football more.
Appreciate that, and so does he. All right, more to come here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Brian Sexton along with Mike Dempsey. Here's what's next.
You want to win every game. You have to learn from things that you do. And I just think for us is when we get that one, we're so close in every game.
That's defensive backs coach Deshay Townsend, who's coming up next. And in 15 minutes, Tony Baselli and Jeff Lageman join us for the first rounds on us. All that and much more straight ahead on the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. The milkshakes and the sundaes and the cones are such a treat. Look out for the ice cream stand, enjoy it from your seat. The creamiest, dreamiest soft ice cream you get from Mr. Softee. For refreshing delight supreme, look for Mr. Softee. S-O-F-T-E-E, Mr. Softee.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond. The original pizza logs are a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars and available at the stadium on game day. You'll find those delicious gourmet pizza egg rolls at concession stands, clubs, and suites. For all their products, be sure to check out pizzalogs.com and have them delivered right to your home. That's pizzalogs.com.
Put down the burger, put down the dog. Pick up the original pizza log. There's only one. The original pizza log, yeah.
You say there's nothing quite like the feel of the open road when you ride a motorcycle. You know it takes concentration, knowledge, and skills beyond those required to drive a car. Ride Smart Florida would like to take this opportunity to remind you to enjoy the road, but to always ride smart. S-M-A-R-T. Say no to drinking and riding. Make yourself more visible to motorists. Always wear your helmet. Ride in control. Train regularly and get endorsed. Visit RideSmartFlorida.com for more details. Do you ride smart? This message is provided by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stahlmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stahlmeyer.
Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good. Bank better. Brian Sexton, Mike Dempsey with you here on the Publix Tailgate Show. Jaguars and Raiders kick off at 1 o'clock here at TIAA Bank Field, and it's that time of the first hour of the Publix Tailgate Show for commentary from Rick Ballou.
10 new coaches this year in the NFL, and 2 have already found themselves on the hot seat. One, Nate Hackett, well, he got off the schneid last week in Denver's victory. over Jacksonville in London. The other is the Raiders' Josh McDaniels, whose name's been thrown around Duval seems like every couple of years whenever the Jaguars actually go through a coaching change. Nothing has worked for Las Vegas, including their 24-0 loss last week in New Orleans. The Raiders elected to stay down south. Instead of going back to Vegas, they stayed in Bradenton and worked out at the IMG Academy, causing some Las Vegas scribes to even go out and say, if there's any jet lag at all, it'll be on the Jaguars coming back from London, not on the Raiders. Hey, the last 3 games before getting shut out, the Raiders averaged 33 points a contest. That includes 32 against Denver, where, of course, last week, Jacksonville only managed 17 against the Broncos. The Vegas Raiders also scored 38 against Houston. Of course, right here at home, Jacksonville only managed 6 points. The Raiders have been very inconsistent on defense. They only have 9 sacks. That includes only a half sack by the all-world defensive end Chandler Jones. They also only have 4 takeaways. They're a little bit better against the run. They do allow 4.1 yards a carry. Want to offer up my condolences to the Coughlin family. Judy Coughlin, the original First Lady of Jaguars football, died this past Wednesday after a prolonged illness. Like so many here in Duval, I was lucky enough to get to know her, and it was mostly with the J Fund, okay? You think of her from football, obviously, but she did so much more. Her tireless commitment to caring for children and children's families affected by cancer. Her fight there was an inspiration to us all.
All right, Jaguars and Raiders coming up in just about 2.5 hours. And, of course, we've got our eyes on the injury report and the active-inactive list, which comes out at 11:30. There is some consternation about this Jacksonville defense. The pass rushing, the ball-hawking personality that was their personality in the first couple of weeks of the season has disappeared in losses to the Eagles and Texans and Giants and Broncos. Defensive backs coach Deshay Townsend has seen it all as a player in Pittsburgh and Chicago and as a coach in Chicago and Tennessee and with the Giants. He knows they've got a to-do list, but he also believes you're not going to solve it if you just talk about it.
Yeah, I just think it's the time, the rep, the group coming together, just becoming one. I think that's the biggest thing, that the reps at hand, the amount of time that you come out each day and communicate with each other. And when you have a new defense, some young players that are learning the game, that takes a little time. But the one thing about the NFL, that you see the spurts of it. You see the guys, they play well at times. Now we just have to be more consistent.
You played in Pittsburgh where they mastered the art of rush and cover. Do you see the weapons on both the front end and the back end here to get there, or are you still waiting for some of those guys to emerge?
Well, I just think for us, it's just we have to go do it. You see some flashes of time when we go out there and it's lights out, and then, we make those mistakes. And I think the biggest thing is just we have to overcome it. That's the thing I talk to the group about is not one play makes a game, but when that play comes, you have to make it. And it's a fine line that we flirt with every week. But the pieces that are here, man, it's a lot of talented guys. And I just think it's the growth of a young team. And most of it is just the mental mindset of it.
To the outside world, looking at Tyson Campbell, we see an emerging player. To a guy who played the game at a high level, what do you see?
Man, you see size, length, and the most important part is the things at practice. You see a kid that wants to be really good. And, we meet early in the morning before everybody gets in. We watch a lot of tape together. He asks great questions. And that's the thing that you see from all the great ones. Your best player that works the hardest, that asks the most questions, that watches most film, that's when they're really special.
And how are things shaking out over on the other side? I know Trey's been thrust into it with the injury to Shaq. He's given up a couple of big plays. What do you see from him? What do you need to see from him?
One thing about the life of a corner is everybody sees it. You can't hide from it. And it's, I talk to him all the time. Is you play 59 great plays and you give up 1 on 60, you feel really bad. And that's the thing. You have to make sure the explosives don't happen. For him, just continue to trust what he's doing and then understand that when that play comes, he has to make it. And that's our job description. That's on your resume anyway. That's what you have to do at corner.
He's a solid veteran. Behind him, you've got a young rookie, led the SEC last year in interceptions. And I remembered from August, confident, smooth, fluid guy. Where is his upside, and will we see him get an opportunity?
You know, the one thing about Buster is he's a very talented player. You know, a guy that has natural ball skills, good length, and he's a physical player. You know, so, you know, he'll get an opportunity hopefully this Sunday, you know, get a chance to go in there and get some reps with Trey, you know, and for him, it's an opportunity for him to make his mark, you know, and that's all we want is opportunity.
When did you start to see that he was ready for this? Has it been coming for a while?
Yeah, I saw it one game. I think he made a tackle in the preseason, and you saw from the first day of practice when he gave up a deep one, he self-corrected. And the one thing at corner, you want to see guys self-correct. You know, you catch one pass and they run it again. I remember in the Raider game, they ran an over route. He self-corrected. The next series, broke it up. So when you see a guy that can self-correct, that has ability, and he's young, he has a shot.
Happy with your safety play overall?
I am. They compete. You know, there's still a couple plays we left out there. You know, I'm never totally satisfied, but you know, those guys, Jink plays the game the right way. You can see him everywhere. He's physical. He flies around, and Cisco has made some plays on the ball. You know, even some we left out there that he wants to get, but those two guys have been playing really well.
I know you've played on great teams and you've seen great teams. Do you see this team starting to take steps forward? I know people are frustrated with the losing streak, but sometimes you have to be able to see past that.
You do. You know, and you look at it. You know, for me, it's the perspective of, you know, you want to win every game. You know, you have to learn from things that you do. And I just think for us is when we get that one, you know, we're so close in every game that you see some teams been in the league a long time. You see some teams get blown out, right? They're not competitive. But that's the one thing that you can't say about this group is we're not competitive. And I think once we make that next step, right, I think the sky's the limit.
You know, people don't know, but from the early days of the Steelers organization, for almost 40 years, they weren't a winning franchise. But by the time you got there in 98, that's all anybody knew. It just takes a couple of things to create that culture, right?
It does. You know, and that's the thing that I know that Coach Peterson is doing a great job of. His sight of the future, his sight of building a culture, you know, and that takes some time. You know, it takes, and you know you have the culture when you have the locker room saying the same thing that the coach is saying. When you have that team is going to be special, and I think we're close.
You know, so I go out on the practice field after practice on Wednesday to grab the coach, and I watch body language. I think I said last week I was a body language guy, and I watch the way the defensive backs are tuned in and dialed into their coach. They are all locked in. When Deshay Townsend speaks, those young players are paying attention, primarily because he played for the Steelers in some great defenses. And he understands, having coached in Chicago and Tennessee and New York, how to get guys developed.
Oh, look, there's great legitimacy that comes with playing the game at a high level, and that comes with Deshay Townsend. There's no question about it. And it sounds like he's got plans for Monteric Buster Brown to expand his role today, so we'll get a better look at the Jaguar rookie, it sounds like.
And I think based on, you know, Trey Hearn has done some nice things, but he's also given up 2 long touchdowns, including the game winner. Well, sorry, the long play that set up the game winner late last week. Monteric Brown is a guy they drafted that was a really productive player at the highest level of college football. They've been waiting for him to come around. They think he's now earned the right to get on the field in some capacity. What that is, we'll find out.
We will.
More to come here on the Publix Tailgate Show, which is brought to you by PRI Productions, the official event production company of the Jaguars. They have everything you need to bring your next idea to life. Visit PRIProductions.com. At 11 o'clock, hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show, JP Shadrick steps in. But before we get to hour number 2, Jeff Lageman and Hall of Famer Tony Baselli join us from the booth. The Jaguars and the Raiders kick off at 1 o'clock in Week 9. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in D.C., Los Angeles. Watch them win in Philly, Indy, Detroit, Nashville, New York, and Houston. When you fly nonstop from Jax, on-airport parking will punt the stress from your travel itinerary. Garage facilities offer defensive coverage from the weather and are a 50-yard dash from the terminal. Economy parking is just $6 a day. To learn more about nonstop flights and on-airport parking, visit flyjax.com.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bono's is currently expanding its brand with franchise opportunities throughout the Southeast and beyond. Over 70 years of authentic Southern pit barbecue and owning your own business are a great combo. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
Final segment of hour number one of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. Brian and Mike downstairs, Tony and Jeff upstairs. It's time for the first rounds on us. All right, let's start with our UF Health, delivering compassionate care and world-class outcomes. That's our game plan. Let's talk about the Jaguars' game plan a bit today. Josh Jacobs, 5.6 yards per carry. Devontae Adams, maybe the best wide receiver in the game. Maybe Darren Waller is roaming the middle. What do you commit to, guys? I mean, how do you solve the matchup issues that the Jaguars will face today? Because those three are all matchup issues.
No, you're right, Brian, and most importantly, you got to stop Josh Jacobs. I mean, Josh Jacobs is really the engine of that Raiders offense, and if he's able to get started, it takes a lot of pressure off of Derek Carr. And Derek Carr's got a little bit of a reputation now, and it's not a very good reputation when it comes to being able to handle pressure in his face. Last week against the Saints, the offensive line for the Raiders didn't play that well. But, man, Derek Carr played poorly. So if Josh Jacobs is allowed to take that pressure off, it's not going to end up well for the Jaguars' defense today.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, the bottom line is, regardless of who's out there. We saw that last week. We've seen it several weeks. We saw it against the Texans. I think it's less about who they're playing, and it's more about the execution and making plays when it matters for this defense. And they just have not done that this year.
And the one thing that worries me, and Tony and I will both echo this, if Derek Carr has a clean pocket, he's got a beautiful arm. I mean, I'm talking he can make every throw in the book if he's got a clean pocket. And if he doesn't have a clean pocket, okay, there's a lot of reasons to why the team might want to move on and find a different guy. But when he's given time, man, he can throw it.
Guys, prior to last week, the Raiders were kind of on an offensive roll. They came off scoring 38 against Houston, and then a wave of flu hit the team last week, and Devontae Adams, a prime example of that, one catch for 3 yards. If you're the Jaguar coaching staff, what do you do? Do you just not even look at that film from last week? Is that indicative of how they're playing, or is that just kind of one-off based on the circumstances?
No, you got to look at it, but I would discount what I saw against the Saints because watching that tape, that's not Devontae Adams. He looked like he was going half speed at times Was it finishing routes?
Yeah, but I will say he was open at times, and the quarterback didn't get him the ball.
There's no doubt about it, but my point is go watch Devontae Adams the rest of the year. I mean, he's a more dynamic player than what we saw there. That offensive line was atrocious against the Saints. And so you want to look at it and see what you can do and if there's opportunities for matchups or schematically what they're trying to do. But you got to have a bigger, sample size than just that game, which they already do no matter what, Mike. But if I was a player, I'd be going back the 2 to 3 games before that game to really see what I was going to be up against this week.
And it'll be interesting to see kind of how they treat it. There's two ways to face an elite wide receiver: is that you double them or you put your best guy on them one-on-one. And I'm more of a fan of doubling them just because I don't think the Jaguars have a guy that can truly shut down Devontae Adams. I just don't have that much confidence in a young Tyson Campbell yet. I think at times you can put him over there to where he's kind of in a one-on-one, but, man, doubling a guy like that is always a better option. And Hunter Renfrow really hasn't developed a lot of chemistry this year with Derek Carr, the other wide receiver, for some reason. And but, yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup. Tyson Campbell talked about how Devontae's got this elite first step, and Devontae is a great player, and I'm sure he's going to be motivated after having only that one catch last week.
Guys, offensively for the Jags, obviously Travis Etienne has been coming on in a big way. 27 touches last week. What area of his game would you like to see him improve the most upon, considering how well he's playing?
I mean, watching last week, he played pretty dang well. I can't point anything out. Maybe a tad firmer in blitz pickup. I mean, I'm like searching, Mike, because that's how good he was inside the tackles, outside the tackles. I actually think I would change the question, how can they use him even more? I think trying to get him out in space in the passing game and matched up one-on-one with linebackers is the next iteration, the next evolution with Travis Etienne, because he is a very good wide receiver. He has good hands, and he's so dynamic. If you get the right matchup, you could really expose this Raiders defense that is not very good right now.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Etienne at all. I think he's exactly where he needs to be. He's really good, which makes it even more disappointing, the performance of Trevor Lawrence last week. I mean, you got an offensive line that's playing really well, a running back that's giving you 150 yards on the ground, and it arguably was Trevor Lawrence's worst performance. The bad decision at the one, throwing the interception, another poor decision late in the game on the first play of a 2-minute drill, and you're inaccurate, and it was a poor decision, and you had multiple decisions in the game throughout that were not good, and he did not react well to the interception. This is a game that I think the microscope and the scrutiny on Trevor Lawrence is going to increase, and rightly so. I mean, this will be game 26 that he is starting. He has to be better because the players around him and the operation around him is pretty solid. Offensive line is playing well, Tony, and Travis Etienne is playing lights out.
And he has good skill sets outside. I mean, you have a tight end, Evan Ingram. He had the one bad drop last week, but he is a matchup issue, and he's been getting open. You have Christian Kirk, who he missed multiple times getting open. I'm still waiting for them to try to stretch the field a little bit with Zay Jones because he can really run. Maybe today's the opportunity. But to your point, Jeff, everything around him is set up. I would say the two big things for me are, yes, the microscope is on, the spotlight is on Trevor Lawrence, but this defense has to be more disruptive. This pass rush, Josh Allen's another guy that has to step up. I would say just as big a spotlight as far as in the building and people watching, that are really paying attention to the nuances of the game on Josh Allen, and he has to be more productive. He has to win more because right now this defense really struggles to get off the field when it matters.
If Josh Allen is going to get better, than last week, third team left tackle, he's facing one of the better left tackles in the game, Colton Miller, in today's game. So tall challenge for Josh Allen.
So, guys, it has been the defense at times, letting him down in the fourth quarter. It's other times been Trevor Lawrence or other aspects of the offense. So you've lost 5 in a row. You've lost all your one-score games. I know everything you hear out of the Jaguar locker room is positivity. We believe we can still get on a roll, but how much longer can you believe that if you don't start backing that up immediately with wins?
Well, Mike, I was in the car listening to you and Brian as you guys kicked off the pregame show today, and I agree with what you were saying, is at some point, it's human nature. You're in the fourth quarter, and you start – that little voice starts whispering is like, how are we going to lose it today? You know, what's going to happen? And somehow, some way, you have to tell that voice to shut up. Even if you speak out loud on the field. And when that thought comes up, says not, you have to say not today. Because I think it is a confidence. It's also just an expectation. It's knowing that you're going to figure out how to get it done and you're going to figure out to win the game instead of waiting for something bad to happen.
Somebody's just got to make a play. I mean, make a play. You know, I mean, guys can sit there and wonder what's going on. I mean, but look within. You know, take a look in the mirror, make a play. And this team is capable of making plays. You know, and I will add this. I think this coaching staff is doing a really good job from a scheming standpoint. I think defensively you got to clean up a couple things because they're trying to play a little bit of man-zone concept, and that's kind of where they get in a little bit trouble. But, man, offensively there's plays that are there if they just execute that should be made. You know, and I appreciate the steady approach by Doug Peterson. And Doug Peterson talked about that a little bit this week, about how he kind of takes his cue from Andy Reid about being consistent, because you can't have a reaction to losing or winning. You just have to be the same if you're going to be a consistent football team. And this team needs to just execute that. And it's not easy to do that. I mean, you go back to 96 when me and Tony were playing, and we weren't very good. I mean, we just kept working. And if this team keeps working, eventually the plays will be made, and hopefully that begins today.
You know, I've made the comparison about that 96 team that had 6 one-score losses in those first 7 losses, that had the 5 turnover game in St. Louis, that had the late bomb to Willie Jackson come up just shy of the end zone in New England. And the thing that happened in that 96 team, as you guys well know because you lived it, is you kept fighting, and then all of a sudden the ball bounced into your hands in Baltimore, Jeff. It hit the upright and bounced off the crossbar and in, if you recall, to win that game. And things just happened when guys started making a play here or there. So we'll find out if they get there. Guys, thanks so much. Have a great broadcast today. And that'll do it for me.
Thank you, boys.
Thanks, guys.
JP Shadrick steps in for hour number 2. Enjoy the rest of your morning.
Brian, bring us home a W, baby.
Well, I'm hoping that you have an easier post-game show today than maybe we did last week, although I enjoyed it. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day. JP Shadrick is next. Hour number 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show continues after this on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Hold on. You want me to tell them about Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea in just 30 seconds? This is impossible. Hey, I'm Billy from Twisted Tea. How can I explain that first sip of cold, smooth, real brewed tea? So good! And the extra kick you get from just the right amount of alcohol? The twist of lemon, Wait, what? We're almost out of time? Oh, shit. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Look for the bright yellow cans wherever you buy beer.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
We've spent a lot of time in our homes.
I'm on a Zoom call.
Dinner's ready.
But we've learned that when we love our home, it loves us right back. Now you can keep that love going when you install energy-efficient natural gas appliances and earn up to $1,925 in cash rebates. You'll love endless hot water, faster drying and cooking times, and ongoing savings and comfort. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Feeling hungry, Jaguars fans? Fuel your Duval energy with a delicious Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog on game day as you support your Jacksonville Jaguars. Whether you're at the game or at home, it's not game day without a Stallmeyer all-beef hot dog made in Florida. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs will fuel your energy to help bring on a victory for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer all-beef hot dogs are available at your local Publix supermarkets. Don't feel hungry, Jaguars fans. Fuel your energy with the official hot dog of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Stallmeyer.
The Publix Tailgate Show is brought to you by Baptist Health, Farah and Farah, and by TIAA Bank. Here are Mike Dempsey and JP Shadrick.
It's hour 2 of the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. We're 2 hours away from Week 9. The Jacksonville Jaguars entertain the Las Vegas Raiders. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey. Ashland Sullivan with us in the Jaguars Radio Network studio at the bank. Well, the Raiders at 2-5, the Jaguars at 2-6, trying to snap a five-game losing skid. The Raiders have been back and forth the last few weeks. They've spent the entire week in the state of Florida getting acclimated to the time zone and the conditions. They were down in Bradenton at IMG all week, and now they've come up to Jacksonville for this game. And here we go, Mike. Got to snap this skid at some point, right?
Well, you'd like to think so.
I would hope so.
Time's a waste and no time like the present, man. I mean, you just feel like if this team starts finishing a few of these off, you hope they don't reach a point in the middle of the second half of the season and look up and go, what are we doing here? How did we not get 2 or 3 of those close ones early in the season? And we can keep sitting here, JP, and saying, well, they got a chance to move up on Houston this week. Indianapolis is in a tough spot. The Titans, maybe without their quarterback playing Kansas City. But we've been saying that for weeks and weeks and weeks, Ashland, and yet here we are on a 5-game losing streak.
Right. You're at the point now where it almost – I don't want to say it doesn't matter who you're playing, but if the Jaguars continue to beat themselves, it doesn't matter who your opponent is. And you talk about this streak, I have fear if the Jaguars don't get it done today, you're going to Kansas City next week. Then you have a bye, and then you're playing the Baltimore Ravens at home. This streak could continue far more longer than we would like to if they don't get a win today.
This is the one today, and today's game is presented by CSX. It is Salute to Service Sunday at the bank, and here are some of today's top stories, starting with criticism of the quarterback heating up a bit after 2 more interceptions last week in London. He's up to 6 now for the season. Lawrence knows that criticism is coming.
We talk about it's part of the job. No matter who you are, you're going to face criticism, especially when you don't feel like you're playing your best. And that's just kind of where we're at right now. And, I don't feel like I've played my best the past couple weeks. And from my standpoint, it's just every week trying to put the best plan together and prepare the best so I can go and play my best on Sunday. And so that doesn't change this week, no matter what the criticism is, good or bad. When we're playing well, I'm going to get too much credit. And when we're not playing well, when we're losing some games, and I'm gonna sometimes get too much blame. And sometimes though it's warranted. I know I haven't played my best, so that just is what it is. It's part of the job. It's part of this game. We're fortunate enough to play it, and that's just one of the parts of the game.
Well, it is what it is, and it has not been good enough over the last little bit of time here, Ashland. He understands that. Fans are certainly impatient. They want a little bit more right away, and he's got to play better football.
He absolutely does, and I think he's done a great job of the accountability of looking himself in the mirror and saying, yeah, I have to play better. You would expect him to say that this week, and I think we're at the point with Trevor where we kept asking for consistency. I think we're past that now, and you just want to see him not make those costly mistakes. I think what the most concerning thing is that red zone interception was almost identical to the game against Houston, and you'd like to say at this point in Trevor's career, yes, he's making mistakes, but he's not making the same ones.
Yeah, look, he's going to make some of the same mistakes, but crippling ones like that you'd like to see him avoid, to be sure. And I think most of the criticism, except from, the lunatic fringe, and there's always a lunatic fringe in every conversation.
Wait a minute.
They're not going away.
Well, I think most of the criticism has been fair of Trevor Lawrence based on the expectations and the resume that he carried into the National Football League. And whether or not he is telling the truth when he's like, hey, it rolls off my back, it's the right thing to say. Never let him see you sweat. He is pretty unflappable, has shown that in his season and a half here, and I think that'll continue.
Let's hear from the offensive coordinator, Press Taylor. He breaks down that second quarter first and goal interception last week at Wembley Stadium in London.
It's first and goal right here. It's second and goal. We're inside the 5. We've got multiple cracks at this thing. We're trying to pop one real quick that we think was an advantageous call for us in that situation, trying to get Christian on the edge. Their nickel did a great job defending it. Down gets extended. Then it's got to kind of go into an us or nobody mindset for Trevor. He felt like he had Marvin in the back of the end zone. Give him a shot, but if it misses, it needs to go in the third row of the stands. Understanding, too, you're throwing it to the back half of the end zone. It cannot be affected by a guy in the front half of the end zone. So that's just continuing to see those situations, learn from those situations, not repeat those situations for him and everybody. Our entire offense in general, we're learning from every single play that happens, and we want to work to correct those mistakes and never repeat those mistakes.
All right, the process continues from the coaching staff to the quarterback, and I think we get it at this point. It helps when the running game gets going, though, and Travis Etienne Jr., of course, last week goes for 156 on the ground, has a touchdown in the game, and is really starting to come into his own, I think, as a running back here, Ashley.
Yeah, he's the positive, right? This past month, if there's been any positive, has absolutely been Travis Etienne, where you're at the point now where you're watching NFL Network and these fantasy shows, and he's the driving force of those fantasy shows because he has been playing so well. But, yeah, you make the argument it's not good enough because it's not getting the Jaguars wins, but a healthy Travis Etienne with a lot of carries seems to be the equation to get the Jaguars that much closer, which is already so close.
The only thing I want more out of Travis Etienne was a chance from the 1-yard line. That's it.
I mean, he might have had a few if it was an incompletion on first down. He might have had 3 in a row. Right?
He might have, right? Maybe start with that this week, I'll say. I'm just going to throw that out there, But, no, he's been fantastic, and I think Tony Baselli was right talking to him last hour. I'd like to see his involvement in the passing game grow because he's such a good receiver. I mean, the guy used to run wheel routes at Clemson and go catch a ball 40 yards down the field. So I think there's some untapped potential there.
Yeah, and he can almost maybe fill that role. We're uncertain about Jamal Agnew. When we saw Jamal Agnew heating up in the receiving game, maybe Travis can kind of take the load of missing Agnew in the offense as well.
Let's get Travis's perspective on the running game lately.
Just keep trusting my offensive line to do what they've been doing. They've been doing a great job getting me to the second level, and I feel like that's all I can ask for them. And they have did a spectacular job, and I just have to keep trusting it and just stay in the film room, just keep studying, and just keep that hunger about myself. I mean, this is really my first year, so I'm learning week in and week out, and I feel like as I just keep getting reps, I just keep getting more comfortable. I feel like this is what I get paid to do, go out there and be the best player that I can be, and that's what I try to do every time I step on the field.
He mentioned the offensive line there, and an extension of that offensive line is blocking tight end Chris Manhertz, and they love it up front when the back is running like Travis Etienne has been lately.
I think it's mutually beneficial. We obviously feel good as a unit, especially as a blocking unit, when he could get that type of production on the ground. So it was a beauty to see. Especially in live ball, we all have to be on the same page to ensure that the quarterback is not attempting to make a pass on his back, so to speak. So we're all one unit. We all work together, and it's rewarding to see when good things happen.
You see it during practice there. The tight ends go over and work with the tackles and some of the early drills on Wednesday. And let's move to the defense now and this Raiders offensive attack. They've got a veteran quarterback, Ashland. They've got a receiver in Devontae Adams who can go play, obviously, and Josh Jacobs is very talented in the backfield. They were shut out last week. That seems like a one-off for this group. They are too talented to do that week to week.
Yeah, I think the sickness was major. We're hearing that from the Raiders facility, only 5 people weren't affected by this bug going around the building, and Devontae Adams didn't look like Devontae Adams last week. Yes, they played poorly, but I don't think the Jaguars should be hanging their hat on what they saw from the Raiders last week. It seems like that bug was legitimate in the game last week.
Yeah, look, this is a team that scored 38 in their previous game against the Texans. They also are the only team to score 30-plus against that Denver defense, which is one of the best in the league. They have plenty of potent playmakers to get it done. Whether that'll happen today, we'll find out, but I think last week was the aberration.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Josh Allen now. The Jaguars looking for a little bit more from the outside linebacker now in his 4th year. He does have the 5th-year option already coming. But Allen hasn't made a major impact, really, the last month or so of this season, and he is the first to say so.
I haven't absolutely not been playing to the standard that I know I can play. Consistently bad, I don't feel like I have been consistently bad. I just haven't been consistently making those plays that I know I can make and should make at this point now. Being consistent, just making the plays that need to be made.
Allen has not had a sack since week 4 in this season. It's now week 9. That's a little bit, obviously, and it was him and Walker on the outside at the start of the season. They got things going early. This defense was taking the ball away. They were doing a lot of things well, but the numbers, Mike, have not been there over the last little bit for Josh Allen, and how does he step it up?
I don't know how he steps it up, but he has to step it up, right? I mean, this is the guy that should set the tone for your pass rush, certainly, and maybe he is. And, that's just unfortunate because the tone has not been great, right, for this pass rush this year. But this shouldn't be a case of Trayvon Walker coming in as a guy, as the number 1 overall pick, without pass rush moves as we knew coming in, making things easier for Josh Allen. It should work the other way around. Initially, Josh Allen should be drawing the attention. Trayvon Walker's not been able to coast off that. And, Arden Key has disappeared a little bit from what we saw in the preseason. Dewan Smoot showed up big last week, but that's not an every week occurrence either. So it's very hit and miss right now.
Yeah, Josh, he has to lead the charge. And I know we were talking a couple weeks ago with Trayvon Walker and the frustration we saw with teams now planning against him. When you just look on Trayvon Walker, even if he hasn't played up to par the past couple of weeks, teams are still going to scheme against Trayvon Walker. So yeah, you would think that would free things up for Josh Allen. I don't know if Josh has the answer on how to do it. I feel like it's going to be that one game, the Josh Allen game we talked about last season against the Bills, to kind of get this momentum going again.
You mentioned Smoot. Feels like you'll see a little bit more of him in the rotation. And then Arden Key actually had a pretty good game last week. He had a sack and a pass defense in London, and we'll see if he gets a little more time in the rotation moving ahead as well. Let's go to the secondary now. And, of course, last week on the game-winning drive for the Broncos, the opening play was a long ball down the field to flip the field for Denver and put them in Jags territory. Defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell keeping Darius Williams inside and Trey Herndon outside, at least for right now.
That's the plan. I think other than one play last week, you didn't hear Trey's name. And we go to it, and he played some really good plays, just like we all did. And one play stands out, but his head's up. He's confident. We're confident in him, and he's going to go back out there this week and continue to play.
All right, he says that. We'll see in reality what comes out on this secondary this week, especially with Adams running around. Does Tyson Campbell follow him some, all the game, part of the game? Do they double him and put Campbell and somebody else? There's a lot of questions.
Yeah, they're not trying to pin it all on Trey Herndon here, but Deshay Townsend, we heard in the first hour, came out and said, look, we're going to see more Monteric Brown, the rookie draft pick, today. So, it's pretty evident. Trey Herndon is a solid player, but there are some guys he just doesn't have the foot speed to match up with, Ashland, and that's unfortunately what we saw last week. The speediest receiver for Denver, he got him one-on-one, basically. I don't know if Cisco was supposed to be there. Right. I don't know if he had time to be there, but you can't let that guy get deep on you in that situation, and he did.
Right, and I understand the reasoning of putting Monteric Brown in there. You have to see something from him at some point, so why not now? I agree with Coach Caldwell, though, about keeping Williams inside, because I always hear the argument, why are you going to weaken yourself at two positions? If he's doing his job on the inside, and yes, would it make more sense to have him over Trey Herndon on the outside? Yeah, but then you're weaker at that position as well. It's very clear you're short a corner at this point.
And we'll see what happens if Brown gets some more time, the rookie out of Arkansas, if he can step in there on defense and have some play today against the Raiders. Those are some of today's top stories. And Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. Ashland, your off-the-field interview this week.
Yes, tight end Evan Ingram, who is really enjoying himself here. You can tell that he's very at home here in Jacksonville, and kind of a breath of fresh air after that New York media. Definitely I get that vibe. But he spoke about kind of the bet yourself this year of that one-year deal.
I think that's my favorite part about, obviously we don't want to be in this situation. We want to be on a roll. We don't want to be on a losing streak, but nobody's panicking. Nobody's pointing the finger. Nobody's acting out. We're all just really focused on getting this thing right, and I think we're close. And like you said, it's going to come down to those one or two plays where we've learned our lessons, and now we know kind of what to do in these situations to help us, to end the streak and get on a little a run of winning for sure.
So that's Evan Ingram, the Jaguars tight end, had a touchdown last week in the game against Denver, and he's on a 1-year deal. He's got to prove this thing, and I think the Jaguars might have wanted to try to get a longer deal with him, but no, he wants to do it.
He wanted the 1-year deal, which I think is fascinating, very similar to an Arden Key. He believes he is worth a certain amount, but he was honest in that interview that he feels like he needs to have a really good next 9 weeks to prove that, but he is under the impression that he wants to make Jacksonville his home here for years to come.
We'll see. Health drops. These are things to watch. These are things that have plagued Evan Ingram in his tenure with the New York Giants. So hopefully that won't be an issue in the second half. He's been pretty good so far in both departments, and I think his role is growing over the last few weeks.
The weekly golf cart off the field interview with Ashton Sullivan airs where?
Jaguars.com and Jaguar social media.
All free.
All free, yes.
Free website.
Uh-huh.
Free social media. Ashton, thanks a lot. Good to see you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much, fellas.
It's Salute to Service Sunday. You're celebrating. You got the Jaguar shirt on?
I wear this shirt once a year, and today is that day.
This is the day to wear it.
Yep.
It's fantastic. Well done, Ashton Sullivan. You'll catch her on social media throughout the day and in the building as well with Red Zone updates in the stadium. Plenty more ahead. We're about 15 minutes away from inactives. Up next, though, it's CBS Sports announcer Andrew Catalon on the unfortunate start for both the Raiders and Jaguars. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff time in Week 9. And from TIAA Bank Field, this is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
The Land Rover Defender story began with the simple thought of creating an exceptionally capable off-road vehicle, becoming the go-anywhere, do-anything all-terrain machine. Today, there's a new Land Rover Defender, the toughest and most advanced Land Rover vehicle ever. From the beginning, Land Rover knew the new Defender was capable of great things. Motor Trend's 2021 SUV of the Year is just the latest example. Test drive the new Land Rover Defender today at Land Rover Jacksonville on Atlantic Boulevard, or go to LandRoverJacksonville.com. Land Rover, above and beyond.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, one taste and you're feeling good now, smiling wider now, seeing brighter now, bucket dunking now, namasteing now, popping a wheelie now, living lighter now. You're on Tropic Time now. And on Mondays, try our Jaguars Duval Delight Smoothies for $2.99. And you're roaring louder now, end zone dancing now, sipping spirit now. You're on Tropic Time now at Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If the last couple years have taught us anything, it's to show the ones we love how much we care. That's why Pet Paradise calls you by name from the moment you arrive. Why our pack leaders know each and every friend you like to play with out on the turf. And that you like some snuggles before you fall asleep. The more we see and get to know you, the more you'll see how much you mean to us. Pet Paradise. It's a new day in pet care.
At most sandwich places, asking for more of something is just part of the drill. But what if you never had to ask for more? What if more was just a given? At Daly's, more is what our sandwiches are built on. More meat, more cheese, more veggies, more quality, more taste. All for a price that's anything but more. Sandwiches from Dash, made fresh. Daly's.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey as the Publix Tailgate Show rolls along. We're inside 2 hours from Week 9. The Las Vegas Raiders at 2-5. The Jacksonville Jaguars 2-6. Kickoff at the bank coming up a little after 1 o'clock. All right, so it's Week 9 in the NFL, and hey, let's take a look around that NFL in Week 9.
Surprise, surprise. Here we go. The trade deadline came and went in the National Football League this week. Some interesting deals got done. Of course, the Jags had already dealt away running back James Robinson to the Jets for a conditional draft pick almost 2 weeks ago, but also pulled off a move this week with an eye on the future by acquiring the rights of former Pro Bowl wide receiver Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons. And most of the compensation in that deal would get wiped out if Ridley is not reinstated by the league following a suspension for gambling on his own team last year, although most NFL observers feel that Ridley should be able to get reinstated in February. He's able to apply for reinstatement officially on February 15th. Now, once all the dust settled on the deals that did go down, many reports have come out on some trades that could have been. The Green Bay Packers, in the midst of a lot of them, they made a run reportedly at Raiders tight end Darren Waller, Pittsburgh wide receiver Chase Claypool as well, DJ Moore of the Carolina Panthers, and Jerry Jeudy of Denver. They reportedly checked in on all those various pass catchers. Waller, of course, stayed in Vegas. The rest stayed with their teams, although the Bears reportedly outbid the Pack for Claypool's services, and he was on the move to Chicago, where he's expected to make his debut against the Miami Dolphins today with the Bears. Meanwhile, the LA Rams tried to follow the recent mantra of, I believe it goes, forget them picks, by making a run at Christian McCaffrey.
Is that it?
I think that's how it goes.
Okay.
He was dealt to the Niners about a week before the deadline, but they were not done. They also made a run at pass rusher Brian Burns. LA reportedly offered 2 first-round picks for Burns, but they've traded so much draft capital in recent years. The first of those picks wouldn't have come until 2024, the Panthers declining that. And with trades becoming more prevalent in the NFL, multiple teams have reportedly reached out to the NFL office this week to inquire about pushing back the trade deadline from its current spot after Week 8 to after either Week 10 or 12. The issue is expected to be raised at the NFL's general manager committee meetings later this month, and it could be discussed further and presented to vote at the owners' meetings in the spring. And then one note on much-beloved former Jaguar Calais Campbell admitting this week that there was more to his absence from the Ravens' win over the Buccaneers last week than met the eye. Campbell was on the injury report with an illness designation, but it turned out he actually needed surgery to remove an infection, and he admitted it was a little worrisome going into it, but apparently everything went well. He's not on the injury report this week at all for Baltimore. They play on Monday night against the Saints, and the one-time mayor of Saxonville is apparently just fine, and the Jags will host Calais' Ravens, of course, in 3 weeks following Jacksonville's bye week.
There's your look around the National Football League. I don't know if I remember a busier trade deadline.
Not in the National Football League, no.
In the
right.
NFL.
I mean, as far as that sport, it's become so much more prevalent to see these deals done. They used to be the massive outliers. You'd see like maybe 1 or 2 a year of players getting dealt amongst teams, and I could see why teams wanted pushback. You don't know what you're going to be if you should be a buyer or a seller after Week 8. So I think the later it is, the more I'm in favor of it.
If you're looking for the MVP of the truck game, then look no further than Ford F-150. Loaded with impressive capabilities and designed to dominate work, play, and everything in between, this truck makes tough look easy. Your local Ford dealer, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Andrew Catalan of CBS Sports has the call of the game this week with Hall of Famer James Lofton. A different week, and same issues for the Jaguars offense as we spoke earlier.
So the last time I was with the Jaguars was in Indianapolis a few weeks ago when they, I thought, played a pretty good game until the end when the touchdown from Matt Ryan to Alec Pierce. But I remember talking with Trevor, and the big buzzwords that week were, don't make a bad mistake worse. Make it an incompletion instead of an interception. And clearly he's still learning that. As we saw in London with the fish and chip vendors, we can use that, can't we, instead of popcorn? And I think that's just part of it. You know, last week I was with the Detroit Lions, and they have a lot of talent. But as Dan Campbell, their head coach, told us, these guys just don't know how to win. They haven't won. And he said that Bill Parcells used to tell him, you know how you win close games? By winning close games. There's no secret formula And you just have to kind of go through some stages like this where you're not going to be able to get it done until you do get it done. And that's what we're all waiting for with the Jaguars.
The Jags are doing good things on offense. They're a top 10 offensive group. So between the 20s, yeah, okay, they're moving the ball pretty well. Travis Etienne broke out, had a great game last week. But that red zone and goal-to-goal stuff has got to cap it off each time. So there are some positive things. So Trevor's great between the 20s. They're running the ball. Okay, that's a good start at least. Not every team has that.
Yeah, I think you look at Zach Wilson in New York, and he is just turning the ball over at an alarming rate, kind of playing that same style he did in college, and it's costing him. I don't think Trevor is to that point. I don't think that he's making egregious interception throws. Yes, the one by the goal line, that hurts. But it seems like there's one of those a game, maybe not 4 like Zach Wilson's making. So I think that is encouraging. I think Evan Ingram is playing well, and he's in a good groove here where he's got at least 4 catches in each of his last 4 games. Etienne is a budding star. There's a lot to like, and I think this offense will put it together. I believe in the plan that Doug Peterson has laid out. In the meantime, I get it because I've been in Jacksonville a lot over the last 10 years. It's very frustrating to have to go through this again, and I totally understand that.
Andrew Catalan with us, CBS Sports. The defense has been pretty good in some of the metrics. You know, they're middle of the pack overall, but they have some issues down around the goal line as well in the red zone, and they can play a pretty good game. And then when it matters in the fourth quarter, more than once this year, they've given up a big throw or a big moment in a game they can't make a play, and it costs them a game. The Jaguars have lost multiple fourth-quarter leads this year, and the defense is the issue with that. So, you know, it feels like the other teams will take the whole game to figure it out, and then, oh, wait a minute, fourth quarter, we can finally hit this guy over the top against X cornerback, right? Somehow you got to patch that up in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I saw that in Indianapolis firsthand. Looked like they were in a good spot there late, and then the Colts with that last drive. And, you know, Denver going 3 for 3 in the red zone was a problem because the Broncos are not a good red zone team. So it does seem like there's just one thing off. I think some of that goes back to youth and not knowing how to close out games. I think that's easier said than done. I am really encouraged by the play of Tyson Campbell. I think he's been fantastic. I think that's a really good sign for Jacksonville. But again, yeah, there's like a loose end here or there, and it's all adding up to losses, and that's what they're trying to correct.
The Raiders are coming in now, though. What's up with the shutout last week? First of all, is this Raiders team better than that, and how do they get off the mat this week?
You can make the case that the Raiders' performance last week in New Orleans was the worst game any team in the NFL has played this year. I mean, it was that bad. And there was some momentum, too, because, you know, they had played really well in Arrowhead against the Chiefs, just came up a little bit short and had a bye week, blew out the Texans. They were feeling pretty good against a Saints team that hasn't done much, and they completely laid an egg. Now, the interesting thing with them this week is they've been training down in IMG in Sarasota, so maybe some team bonding, maybe getting away from home and families will kind of galvanize them a little bit. If you're a Jaguars fan, you're hoping that's not the case. But I think they're going to come out with a bit of a chip on their shoulder because there wasn't one player that played well in that game for the Raiders last week, and the head coach took the responsibility for it, apologized to the fans. I think they got a lot to play for here against Jacksonville, so I'd expect to see a better Raiders team than we saw a week ago.
That's Andrew Catalan of CBS Sports. The full, exclusive, extended conversation with him available now on the official Jaguars Podcast Network. That's free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you download podcasts. Also available on Jaguars.com if you click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. And I think we agree with Andrew there. This Raiders team is not a shutout offense. I mean, they were last week, but there were a lot of extenuating circumstances around the team last week, and they've got the players to get up off the mat.
Yeah, this is legit. I mean, that flu, clearly Devontae Adams is on the brink of not playing, and it impacted him, and he can't have been the only one, JP. They said only, a handful of guys escaped it at all, so you're going to get a completely different team this week.
Texas A&M had that yesterday, too, by the way, in college football.
Yeah,
a bunch of starters
key
out.
Players, yeah.
Yeah, last second. So there you have it. We're back in a moment, and we're about 15 minutes away from a Mike Dempsey fantasy forecast. And we'll hear from Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth. Up next, though, Inactives and a pregame Huddle Up podcast with Bucky Brooks and John Ozier in the booth upstairs. We're about an hour and a half away from kickoff in Week 9. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Are you suffering from shoulder pain? If you have clicking and popping in the shoulder joint, persistent pain that intensifies with use, an inability to lift your arm over your head, or a tingling, burning sensation in the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, waiting to see a doctor could make your injury worse. Baptist Health and Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute have innovative and effective treatment options available right now to relieve your pain and restore your mobility. Don't wait. Call 904-JOI-2000.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first. In-store, online, or at your front door. Get service first with DuvalMotorCompany.com.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. We've invested millions in hardening our electric, water, and sewer systems to make them more resistant to extreme weather. By updating your contact information and signing up for alerts, you'll also be better prepared if a storm hits. And in the event we need to restore your power, we can keep you up to date on our efforts and get you back to normal sooner. Update your contact info today at JEA.com. JEA, building a more prepared community.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Yingling Traditional Lager. The beer for drinkers who know how to tap into their inner eagle and spread their wings. So prepare yourself for takeoff and let your night take flight. When your lips meet that cold, crisp amber lager, there's no looking back. So fly over the radar. Tonight's about the lager, and this lager is all about soaring higher. Yingling Traditional Lager. Spread your wings. DJ Yingling & Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please drink responsibly.
JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. The Las Vegas Raiders at 2-5. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-6. Kickoff time at 1 o'clock, and today's game is presented by CSX. It is Salute to Service Sunday at the bank. Let's get to the inactives for the Jaguars today. And the Jags have 5 players down. Kendrick Pryor, wide receiver, is out today. Tyree Gillespie, a safety, will not play. Tavon Campbell, cornerback, recently acquired, not ready to go yet. He will not play today. Deshaun Dixon, outside linebacker, is inactive, and offensive lineman John Miller is down. Notably, though, Jamal Agnew active for the first time in a couple weeks. Kick returner, wide receiver for the Jaguars, and that's the good news coming off a knee issue.
Yeah, that's great to hear. For the Raiders, they have a couple of starters who will not play today. As expected, Darren Waller Their star tight end is unavailable, trying to make his way back. That's 3 straight with a hamstring injury for him. Jayon Brown, one of their starting outside linebackers, has also missed some time. He will continue to miss today. And then 4 backups: Britton Brown, the running back, tackle Jackson Barton, defensive tackle Kendall Vickers, and defensive end Tayshawn Bauer, all unavailable for Las Vegas.
Those are the inactives for today's game, Week 9, the Raiders and the Jaguars. Let's go to the broadcast booth upstairs and welcome in NFL Network analyst, Jaguars radio field analyst Bucky Brooks, and John Oehser, Jaguars.com senior writer, is alongside of him. Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today? What's up?
Good. Feeling good. Feeling like a Jaguars dub today. Aren't we feeling like that, J.O.?
I picked him Wednesday on our show. I think they have a chance. For some reason, I have a gut feeling they're going to win. And I think it's just about winning the matchups. I think Waller being out certainly helps. It gives you one less guy to worry about defensively. And they can focus on stopping Josh Jacobs, which is key, JP.
Yeah, it is key. And he had 3 straight games over 100 yards before last week's game when they were shut out in the Superdome against the Saints. And it is an offensive group. Even without Waller in there, you got a veteran quarterback in Carr. Devontae Adams can play, obviously, and the running game going, Bucky. That's a trio that you have a chance with those guys on the field if you're the Raiders.
Yeah, you always have a chance when those guys are on the field. I think the big thing is very early in the game is to figure out what Josh McDaniels, what's his approach going to be. He's a guy who, coming from the New England tree, they like to utilize snowflake game plans, meaning everything is different. Whatever they did last week doesn't mean it's applicable this week. So early on, Mike Caldwell and Doug Peterson, when dealing with the defense, you have to figure out what the Raiders are playing that day and then make adjustments accordingly.
So, guys, you give Tyson Campbell some opportunities to go one-on-one with Devontae Adams today, or do you say, forget it, we're just going to double him and let Campbell take Mac Hollins or somebody else out of the offense?
Well, I think one way or the other, Tyson's going to see a lot of Devontae Adams. I think some of it will be double, but I think they think Tyson Campbell's ready for that, and I think at 2 and 6, you need to find out if he's ready for that, and you need to find out if he can go be a one corner, if he can be a take the guy away. Because I think, Mike, we always joke about not following the draft yet, but how you feel about Tyson Campbell, I think, will dictate a lot of what you do next off season. So I do think you give him a chance today to play a guy like this, not just to look at the draft, but because he's shown some signs that he's ready for that, and now it's time for him to prove it.
Hey, I mean, if we were talking about the draft, mock drafting, there's a cornerback going in that Jaguar slot somewhere in the first round. And so I think some of this has to do with Tyson Campbell, but really it's the other guy. Because with Tyson Campbell, you guys already talked about the 2 ways you can do it. You can lock Tyson Campbell on Devontae Adams and say, hey, go handle the big boy by yourself. Or you can double team Devontae Adams, lock Tyson Campbell on Mac Hollins or somebody else, and double team the number 1, depend on Tyson Campbell to take away the number 2, and force Derek Carr to go to number 3, which might be Hunter Renfrow.
Bucky Brooks and John Oehser up in the broadcast booth. JP Shadrick and Mike Dempsey downstairs in the Jaguars Radio Network studios. It is a live Huddle Up podcast. We do it each and every Publix Tailgate show. Bucky, how does Josh Allen get more production on the defensive line, outside linebacker spot?
Well, I mean, a lot of it is winning early downs by the entire defense, because the defense has to win on early downs. So you force the opponent to throw from obvious passing situations, so now you can load up the pass rush. The worst downs in football for a pass rusher are the mixed down, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, because you can't really get that track stance and say, hey, I'm going to go after the quarterback and ignore the running game. So a lot of it has to do with dominating the game on first down. If they can win first down, meaning hold the opponent to fewer than 3 yards on first down, that gives them a chance to then get after the passer. A lot of that has to do with Josh Allen's ability to get it done. If they can do that and set them up, then he should have chances to get after these offensive tackles.
Yeah, JP and Mike, I think you guys are hitting on exactly what I think the key to the game is. Everybody says, well, the Raiders are ultra talented, and they are. But there's a reason they're 2 and 5, and one of those reasons is their offensive line has been really good run blocking, hasn't been always great pass blocking this year. If this team can stop Josh Jacobs on early downs, which the Jaguars, when they're not playing RPO teams this year, have done a nice job on running backs. They get him stopped and then somehow get this pass rush going a little bit, shake up Derek Carr. that's where the Raiders could be vulnerable. I think you guys are talking about the key to the game right there.
All right, we'll flip it around for the Jaguars offensively. Travis Etienne's been tearing it up the last few weeks, but this is also a Raider pass defense that's allowing, in the bottom third in terms of yards allowed, giving up a bunch. So do you attack them with Trevor Lawrence today, or do you attack them with Travis Etienne primarily?
I think you have to build it around Travis Etienne right now. If you're Doug Peterson and staff, we're 8 games into the season. You're looking around, and right now Travis Etienne has shown that he can be the bell cow. He's the best offensive player, the most explosive weapon. So the game plan has to start with him, and then maybe you use Trevor Lawrence as a complement. But right now, Trevor Lawrence has lost his privileges in terms of being the guy that you build the offense around. Right now, he has to kind of sit in the sidecar and let Travis Etienne drive the bus for a little bit.
The sidecar, JP. There's a Buckyism.
Wow.
There's a new Buckyism. I like that. Sit in the sidecar. I've been in the sidecar a lot.
Trevor lost his privileges, apparently.
And I think that's absolutely key. I mean, I think it's common sense at this point. If you watch the Jaguars the last 3 or 4 weeks, and you guys do as close as anybody, what do you feel best about when it happens? You probably feel best when they're pitching to Travis Etienne because you've seen that have results. I don't think they're going to completely ignore Trevor Lawrence, obviously, but I absolutely think you've got to see if Travis Etienne and the running offense can continue being what it's been the last few weeks.
But Bucky, it just felt like he ran differently last week, a different style of cutting and pad level and everything that goes with that. He looked like a different running back last week.
He does look like a different running back, and some of that is they have basically given him the workhorse role. They've given him the RB1. Make no mistake, when you remove James Robinson out of the running back room, he knows he's the alpha. He knows he's now the man and that they're going to feed him. I'm sure there's been a little conversation with him about that, and he's responded. And the more opportunities he's been given, the better he's been as a running back. Yeah, it's his show. And I think everyone on the offense is beginning to realize, hey, we might need to kind of revolve around Travis Etienne, and we have to kind of fill in the gaps in the passing game until Trevor Lawrence shows that he can be the driving force of the offense. Right now, Travis Etienne has to be the focal point of the game plan.
But you also wonder, guys, if that doesn't give the Jaguars maybe a touch of an advantage for the first time. Raiders defensive coaches are looking at this saying, okay, we got to stop Etienne now. Well, that's probably the first time in a while you've felt that way about this offense, where coordinators are going to start looking at that. So maybe that opens up some things for Trevor Lawrence in the passing offense that maybe hasn't been there before this year.
Guys, everything we heard out of the locker room this week indicates the players still very confident. They think they can get on a run and all this. But, 5 in a row by a 1-score margin, how much do they have to get this one today, Bucky and John, if they're going to continue to have that confidence?
I mean, it's critical. They have to learn how to win. And I'm going to say this, not just the players. I think Doug Peterson has to reevaluate how he's managing the team in the game to make sure that he's giving the team an opportunity to win the game in the fourth quarter. So when you're a gambler like he's been prone to do, maybe you scale some of that back, and maybe you say, what I want to do is I want to give our team a chance to have a 15-minute game to win. So do whatever I need to do to get the game into the fourth quarter, and then let's treat that fourth quarter like its own individual game. So maybe you scale back on some of the early game risks to try and get it just into the fourth quarter and see if you can win it that way.
It's boring analysis. I mean, and I've strived for a way 2 or 3 weeks to say it in a different way. This team is what it is until it's not, and they've got to make a play at the end of the game. I think if they were playing the 85 Bears, they'd figure out a way to be in it at the end of the game. And it's just a matter of, can they make that play? Can the defense, and even more than Doug Peterson gambling, guys, can the defense late in the game not give up a go-ahead touchdown? It's one of the most remarkable stats I've seen about this team in a long time, and I've seen some remarkable ones. They have got to stop teams at the end of games.
Let me piggyback off that, because one of the things that you have to evaluate, and Doug had mentioned this a few weeks ago, maybe after one of the losses, he talked about you have to evaluate your schemes. And as much as you want to play man-to-man because you want to be an aggressive team, sometimes you have to fall back and be a bend but don't break defense. And so the last couple of weeks, we have seen in critical moments, the ball has flown over the top of the defense. At some point, at the head coach, you have to go to the defense coordinator and say, hey, here's what we're doing.
No more of that.
No more aggressiveness. Let's kind of scale it back. Let's make them dinking and dunking, and they can go between the 20s, and let's focus on being a great red zone defense. They can have the yards, but we can't keep giving up these big plays and points. And so I do wonder if the Jaguars begin to change their style, because the the one-score losses, some of those have fallen on the defense being unable to make critical plays in key moments.
Guys, well done as always. Bucky and John, have a great day here at the office.
Thanks, guys.
There's John Ozier and Bucky Brooks. The Huddle Up podcast, of course, each week live. The Huddle Up show, 4 o'clock, Wednesdays. Jaguars.com and the Jaguars social channels, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Jaguars Game Day Radio is brought to you by ViStar Credit Union. Do good, bank better. We're inside 20 minutes from Jaguars Radio Network coverage. Countdown to kickoff starts at noon Eastern time. We'll return with a fantasy forecast from Mike Dempsey, and we'll go to the broadcast booth again with Frank Frangie. The Raiders and the Jaguars coming up at 1 o'clock. This is the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Hey Jags fans, Brian Sexton for Dreamfinders Homes. In a complex housing market, do decisions on the biggest purchase of your life stress you out? At Dreamfinders Homes, they can build the home of your dreams in one of their many communities in Northeast Florida. With a mortgage company in-house, they're here to assist you throughout the entire process. Choose from their wide range of single-family homes or townhomes from the 300,000s. Dreamfinders Homes specializes in homes built to fit your lifestyle. Call 904-590-2545 or visit dreamfindershomes.com.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think of calling for a ride, but nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that could happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone. The results of driving drunk are tragic. That's why law enforcement is out there looking for impaired drivers to save lives. So if you think you're okay to drive after a few drinks, think again. Drive sober or get pulled over.
Paid for by FDOT.
Frank Frangie here. When you want barbecue in Jacksonville, you want Bono's Pit Barbecue. You can find Bono's locations all around town and on game day at TIAA Bank Field because Bono's is the official barbecue of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bono's is currently expanding its brand with franchise opportunities throughout the Southeast and beyond. Over 70 years of authentic Southern pit barbecue and owning your own business are a great combo. Go to bonosbarbq.com to learn more or call 904-880-8310 today. And remember, if you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
Touchdown at Jaguars away games when you fly nonstop from Jacksonville International Airport. Join the Jaguars in D.C., Los Angeles. Watch them win in Philly, Indy, Detroit, Nashville, New York, and Houston. When you fly nonstop from Jax, on airport parking, we'll punt the stress from your travel itinerary. Garage facilities offer defensive coverage from the weather and are a 50-yard dash from the terminal. Economy parking is just $6 a day. To learn more about nonstop flights and on-airport parking, visit flyjax.com.
How far should we go? When it comes to the health of children, we will stop at nothing, focusing on prevention as much as cures. Working with community leaders, educators, policymakers to make every child's world a place for them to thrive. Going to the nth degree and beyond. Nemours Children's Health, well beyond medicine. Join the journey at nemours.org/beyond.
This is the Publix Tailgate Show. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure. JP Shadrick with Mike Dempsey from TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. The Las Vegas Raiders and the Jacksonville Jaguars kick it off at 1 o'clock. It's Week 9. The Raiders at 2-5. The Jaguars at 2-6. Let's get a Week 9 fantasy forecast from Mike Dempsey.
All right, JP, got to know who's in, who's out this week. We know Darren Waller's not playing in this game here in Jacksonville today, but that was anticipated for the Las Vegas Raiders. Also knew that heading into the weekend, Jonathan Taylor would not be playing for the Indianapolis Colts. The league's reigning rushing champ will miss another game, aggravated an ankle injury. So Deion Jackson, who had a big game against Jacksonville when he got the start here in place of Taylor and Nyheim Hines, will once again get called upon with Hines getting dealt to Buffalo this week. Speaking of Buffalo, they take on the Jets today, and course, James Robinson, a new part of their backfield, the former Jaguar, said to be a game-time decision. He said his knee is bothering him, and could have sworn James said he had a perfect bill of health when he went to the Jets and that the knee was not an issue. But here he is on the injury report in his second week with the team. Other players to be aware of today on the active side of things, Atlanta welcomes back Cordero Patterson. Will likely get the start at running back. Maybe not get his full workload in his first week back, but he did practice fully this week. And if you have any members of the Atlanta backfield, CP would definitely be the one to start today, in my opinion. Christian Watson, the rookie wide receiver, is active for Green Bay as well in a good matchup versus Detroit. He was questionable coming into today. We knew some guys like Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals would not be playing today. Jahan Dotson of the Washington Commanders. Both of the Chargers starting receivers, Keenan Allen, who's missed a bunch of time this year, and Mike Williams now, who's dealing with a high ankle sprain, are not playing in what is a pretty choice matchup. So if you've got Josh Palmer out there in your waiver wire, he shouldn't be on your waiver wire. He should be in your lineup this week for the Chargers. In the 4 o'clock window today, we're keeping an eye on James Conner's status for Arizona. Will he miss another game? He's been questionable the last few weeks, game time decision, and he's been scratched both times. Benjamin would get the start if Conner can't go there. Cam Akers expected to play. A lot of people thought he'd be dealt away from the Rams before the deadline, but expected to play, but not sure what the workload's going to be. I wouldn't recommend playing any of those Rams running backs right now if you can help it. Their offensive line is not playing well enough. And tonight, Sunday Night Football, Tennessee is in Kansas City. The Titans could be without Ryan Tannehill for the second consecutive week. He's a game-time decision. And Kadarius Toney, the Florida second-year player out of Florida for the Chiefs, who they acquired in the trade from the Giants, expected to make his debut tonight. But again, wouldn't expect a heavy workload, not a fantasy asset, at least for a few more weeks.
There you have it. Your inside track to fantasy success today from Mike Dempsey. How are all your 100 leagues going, Mike?
How
many do you have?
Actually, about 120, but only I have like 17 that I have to set lineups on every week. A lot of them, once you draft, you're done. So they're going well. Thanks for asking.
17 is still a lot.
For some people.
Right.
That's about my wheelhouse.
That's
around
about
17 to 20, yeah.
It becomes unmanageable after that.
Right? It can.
It's a lot to do.
It can.
Like you're busy typing on the Surface in here earlier, changing lineups, doing everything after inactives.
Yeah. I'll probably get to that in the 12 o'clock hour.
Okay, that's coming up. Okay, I'm a little early on that. There you have it, our look around fantasy football in week number 9. This week's game is the Salute to Service game here at the bank, and it's presented by CSX. Let's go back to the broadcast booth and welcome in Jaguars play-by-play announcer Frank Frangie as the Jaguars are set to host the Las Vegas Raiders. And, Frank, here we go, a 5-game skid back at the bank, and got to get something done today against a Raiders team that was shut out last week. All right, we'll get back to Frank coming up. We do not have him in the broadcast booth at the moment. And, you know, this 5-game skid, it's been so close. Every time the Jags have had fourth-quarter leads and have dropped those leads late, unable to finish the job. There have been some positive things. So in some of those games, the offense has gone down and scored to take the lead, as they did last week, but unable to hold it. You know, complimentary football just not there at times for this Jags team, especially late in games right now, Mike.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's been something seemingly different just about every week, or at least several different things. And, week to week, sometimes Trevor leads them back in the fourth. Sometimes he does, and then defense gives it up, and then Trevor throws an interception like last week. So I think it's got to be frustrating as Frank Frangie now joining us up in the broadcast booth. Frank, we're just talking about the many different ways that the Jags have let themselves down late in football games over the last 5 weeks. When it's something different every week, how do you fix that?
No, it has been that way, Mike, and I was thinking good morning to you and JP, and I was thinking about this coming on today. I want to say something different than I've been saying every time we do this. 2 teams similar, both need a win in the worst way. How do they close? How do they finish? But you hit it, man. It's hard to figure it out. I know they're close, and I know how tired people are of hearing that, but one guy's got to make a play. If you get that lead late, that one sack where the other guy suddenly has 2nd and 17. We haven't seen many 2nd and 17s when these teams score those last drive, those fourth-quarter touchdowns to win. You'd love a 2nd and 17. One guy's got to step up and make a play, and at least on the defensive side, that's what we haven't seen. But you're right, got to find it at some point.
What are you feeling out of the secondary today for the Jaguars? We know there have been some spots, some moments there that have not been too positive. So what's the adjustment today against Davante Adams and the group they run out there at wide receiver?
Well, I do think you start with a lot of man and Tyson Campbell traveling with him. It's the first time he did it last week. I think he's going to be so good, JP. I really do. I think Tyson Campbell's a good player and is going to be very good for this team. And we'll see now, because Davante Adams is ticked off. He had one catch last week. He didn't practice all week, had that virus. Then he had 81 straight games with multiple catches. That streak was broken last week against New Orleans. He's ticked off. He wants to have a big game, so that's a challenge. On the other side, look, Trey Herndon's doing the best he can. Trey Herndon is what he is, a good, tough-nosed guy that doesn't run well. I think you're going to see Buster Brown some over there, the rookie, JP. Trey's going to start the game. Darius Williams obviously will be in there in base and will be inside in nickel. But I think you're going to see number 30, Buster Brown, a little bit today. I think it'll be interesting to see if that helps because, they've had problems on that one cornerback spot for sure.
Frank, talking earlier with Tony Baselli and Jeff Loggeman about how, Derek Carr gets time. He can pick you apart back there, and he has the weapons to do it. You got to pressure him. Can the Jaguars pressure Derek Carr today?
The biggest question about the football team for me, even more than Trevor Lawrence, Mike. A lot of people say, well, I think the light's going to go on for Trevor. I think he's too close for it not to. I think Trevor's going to be okay. Now, I've been saying that the whole time. The biggest question for me is, can they find a pass rush? Whether that means doing different stuff, different stunts and twists in games up front, whether it means different blitz packaging, although they've tried a lot of that, or a guy like Josh Allen playing better. Josh has not played well. He would tell you that. He's not played well. I think Trayvon Walker's played better. I think he's attracted more chips, Mike, and more doubles, and Josh Allen just hasn't played well. So between Josh Allen, between Key and Smoot, obviously Trayvon, they got to find that. My biggest fear is what you said and what you had talked about with Tony and Jeff earlier. I worry about a big game from Derek Carr if you can't affect the pocket, and they have not affected the pocket of late.
Frank Frangie in the broadcast booth here at the bank. The Raiders and the Jaguars coming up, and now to the Jaguars offense, and Travis Etienne Jr. really starting to find his way. Well, I don't think he's starting. He has found his way. 4 straight games over 100 scrimmage yards, a breakout game on the ground last week in London, and he ran with a different type of aggression, I think, last week. And if that's the calling card moving ahead, we could be in store for some good running football from Etienne in this Jaguars offense.
Boy, JP, he's a good player, and he's not only good, but he's fun to watch. He runs hard. The minute he gets it, he doesn't have to get going. I mean, he is at full speed the minute he takes the handoff or pitch or whatever it is. He makes plays down the field when he gets to the second level, whether that's a spin or a twist or whatever. He's a really good player. If there's a worry for me, I think he's probably about 208 pounds. I know they list him higher than that, but I worry about injuries, but keep him healthy. He's one heck of a player.
There you have it. Have a great call today, Frank, here at the bank. Should be a nice day for football.
All right, fellas. Thank you.
Frank Frangie from the broadcast booth. The Jaguars and the Raiders coming up. And coming up next is Jaguars Radio Network coverage. And countdown to kickoff. We'll have the top stories of the day. We'll hear from pride of the Jaguars running back Fred Taylor. And, of course, as always, the final word before kickoff with Jaguars head coach Doug Peterson. The Jaguars hosting the Raiders on Salute to Service Day here at TIAA Bank Field. Today's game presented by CSX. The Raiders at 2-5. The Jaguars at 2-6. Jags trying to snap a 5-game losing skid in the friendly confines here today of TIAA Bank Field. That'll do it for the Publix Tailgate Show on Jaguars Radio.
You're beyond busy. Between work and the kids, the dogs and the cat, let us help. With Publix Delivery powered by Instacart, you'll get the items you need from the store you know. Just shop online, select the time you'd like your order delivered, and grocery shopping is done, giving you more time to take care of everything else.
Publix Delivery, powered by Instacart. Visit Publix.com/delivery to shop now. That's Publix.com/delivery. Item prices vary from in-store prices. Service fees may apply. Available in select zip codes. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
Committed to the team. Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. So our policies have no fine print and no military service restrictions. We don't work on commission. We're nonprofit, so we pass the savings along to our members. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org. Navy Mutual, insuring those who serve.
Since 1916, Duval Motor Company is here to keep you and your vehicle off the sidelines. Their all-star lineup of dealerships provides superior sales, maintenance, and repairs for every make and model with Ford, Honda, Acura, Subaru, Chevrolet, and everything in between. At every Duval location across North Florida, Duval Motor Company always puts service first.